Hi, this is Kendall Boyson, professional life and recovery coach, and you're listening to Encouragementology, the practice of instilling hope. Hi there. Thanks so much for joining me. On this show, we are set on nipping negativity in the bud. Now, you might think, yeah, right. Every failed attempt starts with good intentions. But we aren't accepting failure here. Instead, we are going to tap into the power we have to drown out, avoid, or bury negativity with positive thoughts and actions. Doesn't every successful ending echo power? The power you have available to you to activate. This show is all about positive alternatives to some of life's challenges. It's not about denying that there are real challenges that you will face on a daily, if not hourly basis. But instead of sinking in the bog of helplessness, we're searching for positive alternatives to cope and succeed. Ready to take the snips to negativity? Let's get started with the power to choose. What a wonderful sense of freedom that evokes. You have the power to choose what you allow into your mind and at least what takes root. You can't deny that negative thoughts and actions are all around us. There is what feels like an unbearable amount of tragedy and pressure in the world today. Smiling and focusing on gratitude can feel like you don't care about the real struggles of those around you. So instead of choosing to be happy, you choose to be empathetic, but somewhere that idea got twisted. Let's define empathy. The ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Now, you can read into that definition a multitude of meanings. The first thing I heard is the ability to understand. How then do you develop the ability to understand? I'm not sure you can fully understand someone without the ability to listen to them. Sounds simple enough, right? If I had to step back and look at what's happening in the media today, I would think it's safe to say we aren't actively listening. There are plenty of people talking and voicing strong opinions, and there are plenty of people responding and defending their positions. But is anyone listening? Active listening doesn't mean looking for a break in the conversation to insert your next point. In fact, even using the word conversation to describe the communication style of so many today seems inaccurate. Everyone is offered a soapbox, but there are very few conversations going on. Let's dig a little deeper to better understand active listening. In coaching and leading support groups, it was a must for me to understand the difference. Here are some thoughts we are going to explore from Amy Morin, a psychotherapist and author of the best-selling book, 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. Active listening refers to a pattern of listening that keeps you engaged with your conversation partner in a positive way. It's the process of listening attentively while someone else speaks, paraphrasing and reflecting back what is said, and withholding judgment and advice. When you practice active listening, you make the other person feel heard and valued. In this way, active listening is the foundation for any successful conversation. Active listening involves more than just hearing someone speak. When you practice active listening, you're fully concentrating on what is being said. You listen with all of your senses and give your full attention to the person speaking. Here are some features of active listening. Neutral and non-judgmental. Patient. Periods of silence are not filled. Verbal and nonverbal feedback to show signs of listening, like smiling, eye contact, leaning in, or mirroring the other person's position. Asking questions. Reflecting back on what is said. Asking for clarification. And summarizing. In this way, active listening is the opposite of passive hearing. When you listen actively, you're fully engaged and immersed in what the other person is saying. Much like a therapist listening to a client, you're there to act as a sounding board rather than ready to jump in with your own ideas and opinions about what is being said. Active listening serves the purpose of earning the trust of others and helping you to understand their situations. Active listening comprises both a desire to comprehend as well as to offer support and empathy to the speaker. It differs from critical listening in that you're not evaluating the message of the other person with the goal of offering your own opinion. The goal is simply for the other person to be heard and perhaps to solve their own problems. Active listening means not engaging in unhelpful listening habits such as the following: being stuck in your own head, not showing respect for the speaker, only hearing superficial meaning, like not hearing the underlying meaning, interrupting, not making eye contact, rushing the speaker, becoming distracted, topping the story, saying things like, "Oh yeah, that reminds me of a time," forgetting what was said in the past, asking about unimportant details, focusing too much on details and missing the big picture, ignoring what you don't understand, daydreaming, only pretending to pay attention. Establishing the habit of active listening can have many positive impacts on your life, like relationships. Active listening has many benefits on your relationships. It allows you to understand the point of view of another person and respond with empathy. It allows you to ask questions to make sure you understand what's being said. It validates the speaker and makes them want to speak longer. It's not hard to see how this type of listening would benefit relationships. Being an active listener in a relationship means that you recognize that the conversation is more about your partner than you. This is especially important when a relationship partner is in distress. Your ability to actively listen to a partner going through a difficult time is a valuable skill. Active listening helps relationships in that you will be less likely to jump in with a quick fix when the other person really just wants to be heard. Active listening at work is particularly important. If you're in a supervisory position or you interact with a lot of colleagues, active listening allows you to understand problems and collaborate to develop solutions. It also reflects your patience, which is a valuable skill in the workplace. In social situations, active listening will benefit you as you meet new people. Asking questions, seeking clarification, and watching body language are all ways to learn more about people that you meet. When you listen actively, the other person is also likely to speak to you for a much longer time. This makes active listening one of the best ways to turn an acquaintance into a friend. Here are some tips that might help you become a better active listener. Make eye contact. This means you might have to do it in person. Listening via text message is not the same here. In general, you should aim for eye contact about 60 to 70% of the time while you're listening. Lean toward the other person and nod your head occasionally. Avoid folding your arms as this signals that you're not interested or listening. Paraphrase what is said. Rather than offering unsolicited advice or opinions, you might start this off by saying, so in other words, what you're saying is, don't interrupt while the other person is speaking. Don't prepare your reply while the other person speaks. The last thing that they say may change the meaning of what has already been said. Watch for nonverbal behavior to pick up on hidden meanings. In addition to listening to what is said, facial expressions, tones of voice, and other behaviors can sometimes tell you more than words alone. Shut down your internal dialogue while you're listening. Avoid daydreaming. It's impossible to attentively listen to someone else and your own internal voice at the same time. Show interest by asking questions to clarify what's being said. Ask open-ended questions to encourage the speaker to speak more. Avoid closed yes or no questions that tend to shut down a conversation. Avoid changing the subject abruptly. It will appear that you're not really listening to the other person and you're ready to move on. Be open, neutral, and without judgment while you're listening. That's a tough one. Be patient while you listen. We are capable of listening much faster than others can speak. Learn to recognize active listening. Watch television interviews and observe whether the interviewer is practicing active listening or not. Learn from the mistakes of others. If you develop your active listening skills, you will improve your conversational ability. What if you are the one speaking and the other person isn't being an active listener? All of us have been in a situation where the person listening to us was distracted or disinterested. Cell phones are the worst. Even having a cell phone turned up, facing up, screen up on a table next to you while you're having a conversation will decrease the amount of share, how deep a person goes into their struggles or their personal information. So just removing that cell phone, putting it in your car, in your purse, wherever that may be, is going to open the door for a deeper conversation. Try finding a topic that interests you both. This works particularly well during small talk as you get to know one another. Maybe it's not all about you or all about them, but you can find something common to talk about. Model good listening skills yourself. Instead of trying to speak to someone who just isn't a good listener, become the listener yourself. In doing so, you might help that person learn how to become a better listener themselves. Exit the conversation. If it's clear the other person is only interested in hearing themselves speak, maybe they have a need greater than yours, or maybe the timing is just off. How many times have we said, oh yeah, that happened to me too, blah, 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 blah. And then we just take the conversation over. That's an easy one because you want to have like a common feeling and a common thought in mind. So it's natural to want to relate your story to theirs. But there is a time and a place for that. If someone is sharing struggles, it's important just to be supportive and listen to them. I think we've already answered the second part of the definition, which is share the feelings of another. But it bears digging into because here again, we've misinterpreted this definition. The only way to nip negativity without sticking our heads in the sand is to understand and love people. Love them anyway. Even if we can't get to a place where we agree or we fully understand what they're going through, choose to love them anyway. Remember your power to choose? Somehow, sharing the feelings of others has turned into a power struggle of who's right and who's wrong. Sharing the feelings of another doesn't mean you have to stand in their shoes, but it means that you're open to imagine how they must feel. To help us explore the different types of empathy, I found some ideas from the mindtools.com team. In its simplest form, Empathy is the ability to recognize emotions in others and to understand other people's perspectives on a situation. At its most developed, empathy enables you to use the insight to improve someone else's mood and to support them through challenges and situations. Empathy is often confused with sympathy, but they're not the same thing. Sympathy is a feeling of concern for someone and a sense that they could be happier. Unlike empathy, sympathy doesn't involve shared perspective or emotions. You can feel sympathy for someone you see in tears in the street, for example, without knowing anything about their situation. Sympathy may develop into empathy, but doesn't necessarily do it. According to influential psychologist Daniel Goleman, empathy is one of the 5 key components of emotional intelligence, a vital leadership skill. It develops through 3 stages: cognitive empathy, emotional empathy, and compassionate empathy. So let's dig a little deeper into that. What is cognitive empathy? Cognitive empathy is the ability to understand what another person might be thinking or feeling. It doesn't need to involve any emotional engagement by the observer. Cognitive empathy is a mostly rational, intellectual, and emotionally neutral ability. This means that some people use it for negative purposes. Emotional empathy is the ability to share the feelings of another person and to understand that person on a deeper level. It's sometimes called affective empathy because it affects or changes you. It's not just a matter of knowing how someone feels, but of creating genuine rapport with them. For some of us, this kind of empathy can be overwhelming. People with strong empathetic tendencies can become immersed in other people's problems or pain, sometimes damaging their own emotional well-being. This can be particularly true if they don't feel able to resolve the situation. You can avoid this kind of emotional generosity burnout just by taking breaks, checking in on your boundaries, and strengthening your ability to cope in this demanding role. It's being aware. Compassionate empathy is the most active form of empathy. It involves not only having concern for another person or sharing their emotional pain, but also taking practical steps to reduce it. Imagine that a friend is upset and angry because something in their life didn't go as planned. Acknowledging their hurt is valuable, and affirming their reaction by showing signs of these feelings yourself, even more so. But best of all is putting aside some time for them and offering practical support or guidance on getting through the situation and preparing for next time. You may struggle to show empathy initially. You could be nervous about committing yourself emotionally or feel unable to do so. But this doesn't mean that you're doomed to fail. Empathy effectively, you need to put aside your own viewpoint and see things from other person's perspective. When you can recognize behavior that appears at first sight to be over-emotional, stubborn, or unreasonable as simply a reaction based on a person's prior knowledge and experience. Here are some techniques that you can practice. Give your full attention. Listen carefully to what someone is trying to tell you. Use your ears, eyes, and gut instincts to understand the entire message that they're communicating. Start with listening out for the key words and phrases that they use, particularly if they use them repetitively. Then think about how, as well as what they're saying, What's their tone or body language telling you? Are they angry, ashamed, or scared? Take this a stage further by listening empathetically. Avoid asking direct questions, arguing what is being said, or disputing facts at this stage. And be flexible. Prepare for the conversation to change directions as the other person's thoughts and feelings are exchanged. Consider other people's perspectives. You're likely familiar with the saying, before you criticize someone, walk a mile in their shoes. Examine your own attitude and keep an open mind. Placing too much emphasis on your own assumptions and beliefs doesn't leave much space for empathy. Once you see why others believe what they believe, you can acknowledge it. This doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but this is not the time for a debate. Instead, be sure to show respect and just keep listening. When in doubt, invite the person to describe their position some more and ask how they think they might resolve the issue. Clarify. Ask the right questions is probably the simplest and most direct way to understand another person. Take action. There's no one right way to demonstrate your compassionate empathy. It will depend on the situation, the individual, and their dominant emotion at the time. Remember, empathy is not about what you want, but what the other person wants and needs. So an action you take or suggest must benefit them. Empathy is not just for crises. Seeing the world from a variety of perspectives is a great talent. And it's one that you can use all of the time in any situation. Add random acts of kindness to brighten anyone's day. For example, you likely smile and take the trouble to remember people's names. Guess what? That's empathy in action. Giving people your full attention in meetings, being curious about their lives and interests, and offering constructive feedback are all empathetic behaviors. Practice these skills often. When you take an interest in what others think and feel and experience, you'll develop a reputation for being caring, trustworthy, and approachable. So, here are some key points about empathy. Remember, empathy is the ability to recognize emotions and to share perspectives with other people. It's one of the 5 key components of emotional intelligence, and it helps to build trust and strengthen relationships. There are 3 stages of empathy. Cognitive empathy is being aware of the emotional state of another person. Emotional empathy is engaging with and sharing these emotions. And compassionate empathy involves taking action to support other people. To use empathy effectively, give people your full attention, looking out for verbal and nonverbal clues to help you fully understand their situation. Set aside your own assumptions, acknowledge their feelings, allow an emotional connection, and take positive action that will help improve their well-being. What an amazing recipe for positivity, don't you think? Can you imagine a world where people followed these steps? Now, maybe we're a long way off from that type of global thinking, but all we're concerned with right now is you. You have the power to change your circumstances, your attitude, and your reaction to what's happening around you. Choose to actively listen, understand, and respond with kindness. Your actions can directly impact another person, changing their attitude and altering their trajectory. I want you to think about this statement. Whatever you focus on grows. Think about that. Imagine you have a watering can instead of a hose hooked up to an endless supply of water. With your watering can, you are going to water and give life and power to something or someone. Would that help you narrow your focus to concentrate on only the things that truly matter? Would you waste your water just to be right or to teach someone else a lesson? Would you waste an ounce on growing suspicions, negative opinions, or gossip? So with limited supply, let's search for the most impactful use of our water. Angelina Zimmerman describes 8 sensational ways to create a positive impact every day for Inc.com. Optimists view the world with a different lens than pessimists. Optimists experience better health, manage challenges more effectively, and are generally more confident and happier with themselves. Optimists are found to have an overall higher quality of life than pessimists. In 2016, World Happiness Report ranked 158 countries around the world measuring happiness levels. Denmark was ranked number 1 in the world because of various factors such as social support, generosity, life expectancy, and the freedom to make choices. Research has found a strong correlation between kindness and happiness. Those who engage in random acts of kindness are happier. It also indicates increased levels of activity in the part of the brain responsible for compassion. Every day, we have the opportunity to help others to perform a random act of kindness that positively impacts other lives. So, here are some great ways to get that started. Number 1, give more. Start by giving more than what is expected, whether it's helping a colleague at work on a project, doing household chores you've been putting off for months or years, or spending quality time with your children or loved ones. Learn to become aware of what is happening around you and what others are experiencing. This helps you live a much more fully present life. Number 2, smile more. A genuine smile is contagious. A smile is a universal language that can literally change someone's day. It can boost your mood, take a moment of your time, cost nothing, and has an immediate positive impact for both parties. Number 3, help others. Helping others gives us a sense of connectedness, happiness, fulfillment, and meaning. Look for ways you can make a difference, from offering to pick up your friend's child from school, helping a colleague meet a tight deadline, run some errands for your partner, or buy someone a cup of coffee at work. Number 4, send a thank you note. This is one of my favorite ways to demonstrate sincere gratitude for those people who touch your heart. Send thank you cards to everyone, people who inspire you, people who teach you lessons, people who help you grow or become a better person. Go out of your way to reach out and communicate with the gift of a note. Number 5, create more love. Every day, we have the power to choose to act with love or fear. Or another way to look at it is using Dr. Joe Dispenza's terminology of living in either a state of survival or expansion. Survival state is operating from a state of stress, where expansion involves feelings of inspiration and operating from your heart, which creates joy and happiness. Daily meditation, mindfulness, and practicing gratitude increases our ability to create more love in this world. You have the power to send more love to the world, to strangers on the street, and to your loved ones. There is no denying that the power of creating more love in our lives and for those around us is just that, powerful. Number 6, quality time with family. There is no better time than right now to start increasing the quality of your relationships with those you love. In a world where no off switch is prevalent, it's easy to get caught up with the vortex of a never-ending to-do list or be swallowed up by the distractions on your phone from business or personal emails, or an oversupply of apps, client phone calls, and your list of errands. It just goes on and on. It's exhausting, drains your energy, and robs you of the opportunity to use that time to allow you to refresh your mind and body and increase your levels of happiness by spending quality time with your family. Start by sitting at the table together to have a real conversation, minus the technology gadgets. Talk, laugh, and learn what happened throughout the day. Organize to go on a picnic on the weekend at your favorite park or go on an adventure by driving to a new city. Number 7, nurture your business relationships. Success in business comes down to one's ability to build and maintain extraordinary relationships. Those who excel at nurturing their business relationships are in constant demand. Others are attracted to them like a moth to a flame. Success in business and life in general is attributed to the connections we create with others and the degree to which we're able to give and receive. Number 8, surprise someone you love. Who doesn't love a surprise? Surprising someone you love is one of the most beautiful ways to demonstrate how much you love and care about that person. When we get caught up in our daily lives or routines and mundane tasks, we can forget to take the time to demonstrate how much we truly care and show sincere appreciation for the joy and happiness that person brings into our lives. Sometimes it's not enough to simply say the words, "I love you." The actions to demonstrate that statement is true sends the message with much more vigor. When we engage in acts of kindness and take positive actions daily, it forms a habit. Engaging in random acts of kindness and taking action rewires your brain. It positively changes others' lives and can also change your life forever. Thank you for sticking with me as we've talked about nipping negativity in the bud. Man, is that so relevant right now? It's difficult to turn on the news, to turn on even the radio in some instances, to join your social media feeds and not be impacted by what's going on around us. We discuss empathy and really what it involves. You know, the definition of empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. So we broke that down a little bit more because we needed to understand where we got off track with that misinterpretation. You know, first of all, to understand anyone, we have to listen to them. But where are our listening skills? It seems like today we all just want to be heard. No one's really listening to each other. Our communication doesn't involve conversations where we're listening to the other person and trying to understand, and then when appropriate, offer some words of encouragement. Dig a little bit deeper. It seems like we're just waiting for that moment to say, yeah, but I want to tell you what I think, right? So we're in this power struggle. So we went through some different ways to actually listen, active listening. I hope that was eye-opening and made you think about your own listening skills and what you could do next time when someone brings a concern to you. We also talked about empathy and what are the different levels of empathy. You know, so many people feel like I've got to pick up the axe to grind because that's showing someone I care. But really, it's trying to understand where the person is coming from, being willing to put yourself emotionally in that place so that you can better understand what they're going through. Not necessarily take up their axe to grind, right? So we talked about different ways that we could look at empathy and practice empathy. giving your full attention to someone, not being distracted by what else you have going on or listening and then coming up with your own story. Considering other people's perspectives, you don't always have to be right. You don't have to agree with them to understand someone. And then being able to take action in a positive way. Action can just be offering support, encouragement. We also talked about ways that you can impact. Boy, you've got a lot of power. I hope that you're using it in a positive way. And I hope that by tuning in, you're looking and searching for positive alternatives. But we found different ways, like giving more to someone, smiling, which is free and impacts you and the person that you're smiling for sure. Helping others, sending thank you notes, just a note of kindness. Creating and sharing more love. Spending quality time with your family, nurturing all your relationships, and surprising someone you love. Challenges in life and power struggles will never go away, and waiting for a utopia before you act is not the right answer. You can make a real difference by first changing your own perception, choosing love no matter what, and activating your power to positively impact another. If you want to share encouragementology with a friend who needs to know they are not alone in this journey of self-discovery, you can visit encouragementology.com or anywhere you stream your content to receive this episode and all others. Follow us on Facebook for additional encouragement throughout the week. So I challenge you, activate your power to choose positivity and eliminate negative feelings. Take the time to understand the thoughts and opinions of those around you and love them anyway. Even when you may not agree or fully understand, choose love. I know you can do it. Thank you for listening to Encouragementology with Kendall Boyson, where we find positive ways to handle some of life's challenges.
I stumbled through until the path was clear. That's when I found you and how I wound up here.